She walked into the Michelin three-star restaurant in a wrinkled linen dress. No makeup, no designer bag, just gratitude, and a quiet promise to bring her mother here one day. But the hostess looked at her like she was an insect, refused to serve her, and crushed her husband's business card before tossing it into the trash. 30 minutes later, a Rolls-Royce pulled up, and her billionaire husband stepped out. The entire restaurant, every waiter, every manager, collapsed into silence. The dining room of Le Ciel glowed under a canopy of crystal chandeliers, its marble floors reflecting the soft light like a frozen lake. White-gloved waiters glided between tables draped in pristine linens, delivering plates of caviar and truffle-dusted scallops to Chicago's elite. Tech moguls, hedge fund kings, and influencers whose every post shaped trends. The air carried the faint aroma of aged wine and rosemary, and the murmur of conversation was punctuated by the clink of baccarat crystal. Le Ciel wasn't just a restaurant. It was a fortress of exclusivity, a Michelin three-star temple where reservations were booked months in advance, and the guest list was curated like a private club. Outside, valets in tailored vests managed a fleet of Bentleys and Teslas, and hashtag Le Ciel dining trended before the first course was served. This was a place where power dined, and status was the currency. Eliza Gray stepped through the etched glass doors, her ash-gray linen dress catching the faintest draft. At 35, she was beautiful in her understated way, high cheekbones, hazel eyes that held warmth and resolve, and dark hair loosely tied behind her neck, a few strands brushing her collarbone. Her flats whispered on the marble, and her canvas tote held a notebook, a pen, and a faded photo of her mother smiling in a garden. Once, Eliza had been a rising architect, her designs gracing galleries at Cornell, but her mother's stroke 5 years ago changed everything. She left her career to care for her, funding caregivers with her own savings, while her wealth, a vast trust from her late father's tech patents, remained untouched, a secret she kept out of humility. Today, she came to Le Ciel to book a table for her mother's 60th birthday, a promise made years ago when they'd laughed over diner coffee, dreaming of one fancy meal just once. The hostess, Vanessa Holt, stood behind a sleek podium, her blonde hair pinned in a flawless updo, her black dress hugging her like a second skin. Her eyes flicked over Eliza's outfit, lingering on the absence of jewelry or a designer label, and her smile was a thin, practiced blade. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone suggesting she already knew the answer. Eliza's lips curved softly, unshaken. "I'd like to book a table for next month," she said, her voice clear and steady. "For 2, please. It's for my mother's birthday." Vanessa's smile tightened, her gaze raking Eliza's flats. "I'm sorry, we don't have tables for walk-ins," she said, her voice loud enough to turn heads. "And we prioritize regulars." A nearby diner, a man in a tailored blazer named Richard Vance, chuckled, muttering, "She must think this is a burger joint." His wife, dripping in emeralds, smirked, her fork pausing over her foie gras. "No reservation?" "Bold," she whispered, loud enough for Eliza to hear. The dining room's hum shifted, eyes turning to the woman who didn't belong. Eliza's fingers tightened briefly on her tote, but her composure held. "I understand," she said softly. "Could I speak to someone about reserving in advance?" Vanessa's laugh was sharp, a sound that drew more stares. "Sweetheart, this isn't a place for last-minute plans," she said, her eyes flicking to Eliza's dress. "You might try somewhere more casual." The word landed like a slap, and the diners nearby snickered, their phones already out, framing Eliza as an intruder. The restaurant manager, Gregory Wells, approached, his polished shoes clicking, his navy suit crisp as a blade. His face was a mask of cold authority, his gray eyes assessing Eliza like she was a smudge on his pristine world. "Is there a problem?" he asked, his voice carrying a practiced chill. Vanessa gestured at Eliza, her smile venomous. "She's asking for a table. No reservation, no pedigree." The word sparked laughter from a nearby table where a tech heiress named Lauren Tate, her diamond earrings flashing, leaned in, whispering, "Who let her in? This is embarrassing." Eliza stood taller, her hazel eyes steady. "I'd like to book for next month," she repeated, her tone calm but firm. She reached into her tote, pulling out a sleek black business card embossed with gold. Nathaniel Gray, CEO, Gray Enterprises. "My husband can confirm the reservation," she said, offering it to Gregory. He glanced at the card, his lips curling into a sneer, and without breaking eye contact he crumpled it and dropped it into the trash bin beside the podium. "We don't need cards," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "This is a private space for people who understand our values. Come back another time, maybe with a proper outfit." The dining room erupted in soft laughter, diners leaning in, their phones flashing. "She's a nobody," Lauren muttered, her voice carrying. "Trying to scam a table," Richard added, his blazer gleaming under the chandelier. A waiter, Ethan Cole, paused mid-step, his tray of champagne flutes trembling as he smirked, whispering to a colleague, "Bet she's here for the free bread." The humiliation was a living thing, wrapping around Eliza like smoke, but she didn't flinch. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice a thread of steel. "I'll come back later." She turned, her flat silent, and walked toward the doors, the weight of their stares on her back. Before leaving, Eliza paused near the coat check to retrieve her scarf, her tote catching on the counter. A table of diners nearby, including Richard Vance and his wife Amelia, noticed her struggle. "Oh, look, the charity case is stealing coats now," Amelia called, her emerald necklace gleaming as she laughed. Richard leaned back, sipping his wine, and shouted, "Hey, miss, the soup kitchen's down the street." The table erupted, their phones out, filming as Amelia tossed a crumpled dollar bill at Eliza's feet. "For your reservation!" The other diners joined in, chanting, "No table! No table!" As Lauren Tate live-streamed, her caption, "Le Ciel's reject, priceless." Eliza's jaw tightened, but she picked up her scarf, ignoring the bill, her hazel eyes steady. The video hit 10,000 views in minutes, comments like, "Total loser," piling up, each taunt a dagger in her quiet strength. Eliza lingered near Le Ciel's ornate lobby fountain, hoping to speak with another staff member after Vanessa's dismissal. A group of diners led by Lauren Tate spotted her, their champagne flutes glinting. "Still here, thrift shop girl?" Lauren called, her voice loud enough to echo off the marble walls. She snapped a photo, posting it instantly with the caption, "Le Ciel stray, someone call security." The group laughed, their diamonds flashing as they circled closer. A man, Victor Crane, tossed a cocktail olive at Eliza's feet, smirking, "Clean that up, sweetheart." Eliza's hazel eyes flickered with restrained pain, but she stepped over the olive, her posture unbroken. A waiter, Ethan, joined in, tossing a napkin her way. "For the mess you are." The lobby's laughter swelled, phones recording as Eliza walked away, her flats silent, the humiliation a weight she carried with quiet dignity. The post went viral, comments piling up. "Pathetic! Kick her out!" As Eliza passed the open kitchen door on her way out, she overheard Vanessa and Ethan whispering to a chef, their voices sharp with mockery. "Did you see her dress?" Vanessa sneered, tossing a rag onto the counter. "Like she wandered in from a laundromat." Ethan laughed, flipping a spatula. "Bet she thought Le Ciel serves fries." The chef, a burly man named Marco, chuckled. "She's got no business here, probably fishing for a rich guy." Their laughter spilled into the hallway, loud enough for Eliza to hear as she adjusted her tote. A busboy glanced at her, then looked away, complicit in his silence. Eliza's fingers tightened on her bag, her hazel eyes burning with unspoken resolve, but she kept walking, the staff's words a fresh cut. The gossip spread to Le Ciel's staff chat, screenshots leaking online, each jibe fueling the narrative of Eliza as an outsider unworthy of their world. Outside, the Chicago evening was crisp, the skyline glittering against the dusk. Eliza stood on the sidewalk, her tote slung over her shoulder, her breath steady as she pulled out her phone. She didn't call for a ride, she didn't cry. She dialed Nathaniel, her voice soft but clear. "They wouldn't take the reservation," she said. "I'm okay, just let me know when you're here." As Eliza stepped onto the sidewalk, a group of Le Ciel's valets, led by a smug young man named Tyler, spotted her waiting by the curb. "Yo, you lost, lady?" Tyler called, his vest gleaming under the streetlights. He nudged his coworker. "She's the one they kicked out. Thought she'd eat with the big shots." The valets laughed, one tossing a parking stub at her feet. "Here's your VIP pass." Passers-by paused, some pulling out phones to record, their chuckles joining the valet's jeers. A woman in a fur coat, a Le Ciel regular named Diana Holt, walked by and sneered, "This is why we need better security. Riff-raff like her ruin the vibe." Eliza's tote hung heavy on her shoulder, her hazel eyes fixed on the horizon, but the public shaming burned, her dignity under siege. The video spread online, tagged @LicielReject, each laugh a wound no one saw. On the other end, Nathaniel's voice was a low growl, the kind that made boardrooms tremble. "I'm coming now," he said. "Stay there." Inside Liciel, the diners returned to their meals, the incident already a story to share. Vanessa adjusted her dress, smirking to Gregory. "Can you believe her nerve?" Gregory chuckled, wiping his hands as if dusting off Eliza's existence. "She'll learn her place," he said, moving to greet a new guest, a hedge fund titan in a Brioni suit. Lauren Tate posted a photo of her dessert, captioning it, "Liciel vibes, only the best belong." The comment section filled with likes, the restaurant's aura untarnished, its hierarchy intact. 30 minutes later, a sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom glided to a stop in front of Liciel, its engine a soft purr that silenced the street. The valet froze, his hands fumbling with a key fob as the driver's door opened. Nathaniel Gray stepped out, his charcoal gray suit tailored to perfection, his broad shoulders and sharp jawline cutting a figure that commanded attention. At 42, he was a force, dark hair streaked with silver, green eyes that could warm or freeze, and an aura of quiet power that made the air shift. Nathaniel was a real estate billionaire, his company, Gray Enterprises, owning half the luxury properties in Chicago and a global chain of high-end restaurants. He was a ghost in the public eye, his name whispered in elite circles, his face rarely seen outside boardrooms. The restaurant's glass doors swung open as Nathaniel strode in, Eliza stepping out of the Rolls-Royce behind him, her linen dress unchanged, her hazel eyes calm. The dining room fell silent, forks pausing, glasses stilled. Vanessa's smile vanished, her podium suddenly a flimsy shield. Gregory's face paled, his polished demeanor cracking. Nathaniel didn't look at them. His voice was low, lethal, each word a blade. "Which one of you turned away my wife?" The question hung like a guillotine. Diners gasped, their phones lowering. Lauren Tate's dessert fork clattered, her diamonds dull under the chandelier. Richard Vance choked on his wine, his cufflinks no longer impressive. Ethan, the waiter, dropped a tray, champagne flutes shattering on the marble, the sound echoing in the stunned silence. Eliza stood beside Nathaniel, her tote in her arms, her silence louder than any accusation. She didn't need to speak. Her presence was enough. Vanessa stammered, her hands fluttering to her dress. "Sir, I didn't know." Nathaniel's gaze snapped to her, his green eyes ice cold. "You didn't need to know," he said, his voice cutting through her excuse. "You saw a woman asking for a table and chose to humiliate her." He turned to Gregory, whose navy suit now seemed cheap. "And you," Nathaniel said, stepping closer, "you threw my card in the trash. My wife's request wasn't worth your time." Gregory opened his mouth, but no words came, his authority dissolving under Nathaniel's stare. The diners watched, frozen, as Nathaniel pulled out his phone, his fingers moving with deliberate calm. "Clara," he said, his voice steady, "execute the acquisition. Liciel's parent company, buy it. Now." Clara, his chief of staff, her voice crisp through the speaker, replied, "Done, sir. Controlling shares secured. Awaiting your orders." The dining room's silence deepened, a collective intake of breath. Nathaniel's entrance was a storm breaking. As he stood in Liciel's dining room, his charcoal gray suit a stark contrast to the trembling staff, the chandeliers seemed to dim under his presence. "You turned away my wife," he repeated, his green eyes pinning Vanessa, whose flawless updo now seemed frantic. "You mocked her, laughed at her, made her a spectacle." He turned to Gregory, his voice a whip. "And you trashed my card like it was nothing." The diners held their breath, phones frozen mid-record. Nathaniel raised his phone, his voice calm but lethal. "Clara, fire the entire management team. Vanessa Holt, Gregory Wells, Ethan Cole, out, now." Clara's response was instant. "Terminations processed, sir. Security's on the way." Guards in black suits appeared, escorting a stammering Vanessa and a pale Gregory out, their protests drowned by the crowd's gasps. Lauren Tate's live stream hit 50,000 viewers, comments screaming, "They're done! Justice for Eliza!" Nathaniel took Eliza's hand, her linen dress radiant in the chaos, and the room knew the power had shifted. Lauren's phone slipped, her dessert photo forgotten. Richard's wife clutched her emeralds, her smirk gone. Nathaniel's gaze swept the room, pinning Vanessa, Gregory, Ethan. "You're fired," he said, his tone final. "All of you. Pack your things and leave. My company doesn't employ people who treat others like garbage." He nodded to a woman in a sleek navy suit, Clara, who'd arrived behind him, her tablet glowing with data. "Clara, ensure they're gone by morning and pull the security footage. I want every second of this on record." Clara's fingers flew, her face a mask of focus as the staff's faces drained of color. Eliza touched Nathaniel's arm, her voice soft. "Nate, that's enough," she said, her hazel eyes gentle but firm. He exhaled, his anger softening, and turned to her, his hand finding hers. "You didn't deserve this," he said, his voice low, meant only for her. She smiled, squeezing his hand. "I'm fine," she said. "Let's go." The crowd parted as they walked toward the doors, Eliza's flats clicking on the marble, Nathaniel's suit a shadow beside her. The Rolls-Royce waited, its door open, and they stepped inside, the engine purring as it pulled away. Lucielle's fallout was seismic. By morning, the security footage had leaked, showing Vanessa's sneer, Gregory's trash toss, Ethan's bread jibe. The clip went viral, racking up 15 million views in hours, with comments screaming, "Disgusting! Boycott Lucielle!" The leaked footage of Lucielle's cruelty became a global firestorm, hitting 20 million views in 24 hours. Vanessa's sneer, Gregory's trash toss, and Ethan's bread jibe looped endlessly, with #Lucielle shame trending worldwide. Vanessa's modeling contract was canceled, her face scrubbed from luxury campaigns, her name mud online. Gregory's resume was mocked, his Michelin manager title a joke as restaurants blacklisted him. Ethan's barista job offer was rescinded after his smirk went viral, his LinkedIn flooded with Lucielle loser comments. Lauren Tate's influencer empire crumbled, her 200,000 followers dropping as brands cut ties, her dessert post buried under #BoycottLauren. Richard Vance's hedge fund lost $50 million in client funds, his burger joint Quip a PR disaster. The internet crowned Eliza the Hearth Queen, her linen dress a symbol of triumph. While Lucielle's elite were reduced to memes, their cruelty, their undoing. The world cheered as Eliza's grace outshone their shame. The restaurant issued a public apology, but it was drowned out by the internet's fury. #Lucielle's shame trended globally, and reservations plummeted, tables sitting empty as the elite distanced themselves. Vanessa's name became a synonym for cruelty, her social media accounts deleted as sponsors dropped her. Gregory's career tanked, his LinkedIn profile mocked as trash-tossing manager. Ethan's waiter gigs dried up, his smirk a memory in Chicago's dining scene. The diners weren't spared. Lauren Tate's dessert post backfired, her followers turning on her with comments like, "You laughed at Eliza." Her influencer deals collapsed, her diamonds no shield. Richard Vance's hedge fund faced a PR crisis, clients pulling millions as his burger joint Quip looped online. The footage showed their laughter, their whispers, their complicity, and the world judged them harshly. Lucielle's parent company, now under Nathaniel's control, announced a full staff overhaul, but the damage was done. The restaurant's 3 stars felt hollow, its reputation in ruins. Eliza didn't return to Lucielle. She had other plans. Using her trust, she opened The Hearth, a restaurant in Chicago's South Side, where the menu was affordable, the decor warm, and the doors open to all. No dress code, no reservations needed, just good food and a seat for everyone, whether they wore linen or luxury. The Hearth's opening night was packed, families and workers filling the tables, their laughter a contrast to Lucielle's cold exclusivity. Eliza moved through the dining room, her linen dress unchanged, her hazel eyes bright as she greeted guests. A young girl, clutching a crayon drawing of a plate, ran up, shyly offering it. "For you, Ms. Eliza," she said. Eliza knelt, her smile radiant, and hugged her, pinning the drawing to the wall. The Hearth became a sensation, its story spreading as the anti-Lucielle. Food critics raved, calling it a revolution in dining, and lines stretched around the block. Nathaniel funded the expansion, but Eliza ran the show, her vision clear. A place where no one was turned away. Her mother, now recovering with top-tier care funded by Eliza's trust, visited on her birthday, her wheelchair rolling into the Hearth's sunlit dining room. Eliza sat beside her, their hands clasped as they shared a meal, the promise kept in a way neither had imagined. The world watched Eliza's rise, her linen dress an icon of humility and strength. Lucielle faded, its chandeliers dim, while the Hearth glowed, a beacon of what dining could be. Eliza didn't need to gloat. She'd built something better, Not with anger, but with heart. Nathaniel stood by her, his Rolls-Royce parked outside, but it was Eliza's quiet resolve that changed the game. Eliza Gray didn't need a Michelin star. She was the light. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.